Tumhari Meri Batein. This is a video series that has been set up for teachers. It's self-learning series in 4 modules and has 4 units per module. The attempt has been to make this a theoretically sound, evidence-informed set of lessons for teachers. Examples are contextually embedded and richly informed by local research. We have ensured that there are quizzes and reflection activities that can help deepen teacher knowledge. So apart from the slide and 2 more slides, I'm going to try and give a summary of what the teacher's experience of this course might be. So if you take a sample of the lessons or the kinds of material the teacher will experience, it could be divided broadly into 4 areas. For one, there are slides and there are messages throughout the modules, urging teachers to think of themselves as part of a fraternity of colleagues who are all thinking about the same issues that they want to think about, which is on multilingualism. It is an attempt to try and create a culture of discussion, a culture of consultation, a culture of sharing of good practice, a culture of acknowledging successes in colleagues' work with multilingualism. Another aspect of the course is that throughout the modules, we have interwoven examples of what can be done in the classroom. Some of this is directly shown, as you can do a phonological activity such as a clapping game, or you can do a word building activity to improve morphological awareness. But a lot of it is also in the way in which we've illustrated the different slides. These have allowed us to give examples of what can it look like on a cricket field, what can it look like during a morning assembly, what might it look like when you go on a nature walk, what can it look like if you had a science class, what could a very language-rich classroom look like, what would a print-rich classroom look like. So the course is rich in illustration and rich in suggesting ways in which classrooms could breathe and infuse their walls and their conversations with the ideas of multilingualism. There's also a lot of focus on bringing in the outside world into the classroom. So there is ideas about bringing in community members, bringing in elders, bringing in people who may not know the school language but may be full of the wisdom of the area. So there are lots of examples of that sort throughout the course. And finally, the course ends with an urgent requirement to think about whatever we do being audited by ourselves rather than by external agencies. An audit of how we value languages, an audit of what are the teaching learning materials we use, an audit also of what it is that makes our school welcoming for some children and not so welcoming for other children. Moving then to what are the concepts that this course covers. Quite a few, and I will run this through module by module. So when we think of the first module on what is multilingualism, there are quite a few ideas that are covered. But the top message here is that language is essentially a communicative system, and that within the diversity that's available within a community, there is a tendency for language to be then in a hierarchy of prestige, with some languages dominating and some getting marginalized. And within a school system, it could also then be that there is a preference for a monolingual rule in the classroom and in the school, and what that means for children and what that means for language and its survival. The top message over here is that because it's a communicative system, we need to become aware of what are our communicative practices. If we then think of the second module, this is on the child, the multilingual child. And here we are looking at all the aspects of the child's development of language skills and the component skills that make up what we call language, whether it's vocabulary and word knowledge, whether it is about sentences and syntactic knowledge or grammar knowledge. It's also about children becoming aware about how languages work, aware of what are common and what are not so common across the languages that they know. And there's a section in this module on understanding what encounters with language mean for language learning. So the quality of language that's used with the child, the quantity of language that the child is exposed to, the attitudes about the child's languages from before they've come to school. So all of this matters, and all of this is discussed within this module. And of course, that then takes us into the classroom and what happens with all these languages that are coming into the classroom. We look at classroom practices, we look at whether there are any intentional teaching strategies and what those strategies might be in the context of multilingualism. We focus a lot on what are the activities that can be done in the classroom to deepen engagement, deepen comprehension, and on the whole deepen the opportunities that can be offered to the child who's learning and of course making mistakes, and how those errors can actually turn into teaching moments. And finally, for the individual teacher to take all of this and apply in the classroom, there's the need for the school to support that teacher. So there's a module on school culture, on what is it that's good practice in a school system that can allow individual teachers to flourish and use the kind of ideas that this course gives them. So there is a discussion on collaboration, on sharing of successes, on supporting innovation, on what some of those innovations might look like, and what is the need in terms of supporting teachers to grow. For example, time for them to reflect, time for them to ensure that what they're doing can have a discussion with their colleagues. So this course is drawn on research and the evidence that has come from multiple methods and multiple disciplines. So, for example, we draw quite a lot from sociolinguistic research, the research that's done about what happens to the different languages in a community, what happens when languages meet, what happens when languages are in conflict, when they dominate, when they get marginalized. The course is also drawn from research on psycholinguistics and research from cognitive science on how does the child learn, what do the learning trajectories look like, and what happens when we get it right, and what happens if we don't create the right environment for learning. The course also draws from intervention research. What have we learned from intervention research in terms of what is effective, what is good practice, what works, what doesn't work, and in what aspect does it work. Finally, the course draws on school effectiveness research in terms of what are good practices that top management in a school system can do, good research on what is effective for teachers in the staff room and with their interactions with their colleagues. So all in all, a multidisciplinary kind of framework has been used to inform the structure of this course, and the hope is that it has been presented in a way that is interesting, culturally vibrant, and full of good and useful ideas that teachers can take immediately into the classroom and try them out. Thank you.